The VA loan gives veterans the ability to buy a home with zero down. But the VA doesn't just care about the borrower, it cares about the property as well. And if the home doesn't meet the VA's minimum property requirements, the loan can't move forward, no matter how qualified the borrower may be. And that topic tends to catch a lot of veterans off guard. So in this video, I'm breaking down exactly what those requirements are, why they exist, what can go wrong, and how you can protect yourself before they ever even become a problem. And here's why this is such an important topic. Most of the time when veterans start the home buying process, the conversation's all about them. Do you qualify? What's your credit like? How much money do you make? And how much can you borrow? And all of these are valid questions, but the VA loan has two sides to the approval, the borrower side and the property side. And a lot of buyers and even some realtors don't fully understand what the VA expects from the home itself. So you could be fully approved, find a house, get under contract, and then the appraisal comes back with property conditions that the seller either can't or won't fix. Then suddenly the deal falls apart. This video is about understanding that side of the equation before you're in the middle of it. So here's what we're going to be covering today. What are the VA minimum property requirements actually, and why does the VA have them? What the VA is specifically looking for when it evaluates a property. The most common issues that tend to come up, what happens when a property doesn't meet the requirements, and the strategy piece, how to protect your deal and set expectations before you ever even make an offer. So let's get into it. The VA's minimum property requirements, or MPRs, are the baseline standards that a home must meet for the VA to guarantee the loan. Think of it this way. The VA isn't just helping you buy a home, it's also backing the loan financially. So it has a stake in making sure that the property you're buying is worth what you're paying for and that it's livable. The VA doesn't want to guarantee a loan on a property that's a health hazard, a structural risk, or something that's just going to fall apart 6 months after closing. That's where MPRs come from. They exist to protect three things: the veteran, the value of the loan, and the long-term integrity of the benefit. Now, here's what MPRs are not. They are not a full home inspection. The VA appraisal, which is where MPRs are evaluated, is not the same as hiring a licensed inspector to go through every system in the home. We have a whole separate video on that distinction, but for now, just understand that the VA appraisal has two main jobs: estimate the value of the home and note any obvious conditions that don't meet the minimum property standards. The VA organizes its property standards around three words: safe, sound, and sanitary. And that's the whole framework. Safe just means that the property doesn't pose a physical danger to the occupants. So they're checking for things like exposed wiring, broken stairs, missing handrails, or other significant structural hazards. Sound means that the home is structurally intact. The roof has remaining life, the foundation isn't compromised, and the house is not just going to blow over. And sanitary means that the home has functioning utilities and acceptable living conditions. That means it has things like working heat, running water, and a functional sewage system. Most homes in decent conditions will pass those standards without any issues. The problems tend to come up in older homes, distressed properties, fixer-uppers, foreclosures, and short sales, where deferred maintenance or damage has created conditions that the VA is going to flag. Now, these are the conditions that appraisers are trained to flag. Roof condition: if the roof has obvious damage, missing shingles, active leaks, or limited remaining life, the appraiser is going to note it. The VA generally wants a roof that will last at least 2 more years after you purchase. Exposed electrical or safety hazards like exposed wiring, missing outlet covers, or electrical panel issues, or anything else that creates a visible electrical risk. Broken windows or damaged entry points, broken glass, missing doors, things that affect the security or the weatherproofing of the home. Evidence of water intrusion or active leaks, so standing on the ceilings, visible mold, or standing water in a crawl space. Foundation or structural concerns. large cracks, settling, anything that questions the structural integrity of the home. Non-functional utilities, heat systems that don't work, plumbing that doesn't drain properly, well or septic systems that have major issues. Lead-based paint on homes built before 1978, peeling or chipping paint will be flagged because of lead exposure risk. Wood-destroying insects or dry rot. In many markets, the VA requires a termite inspection. If there's evidence of infestation or damage, that has to be addressed. Most homes don't have a laundry list of these issues, but some do. And if you're shopping in a certain price range, certain neighborhoods, or even certain property types, you're much more likely to encounter them. This is the part where the deal either gets resolved or it gets complicated. When the appraiser notes a property condition, it typically comes back as a required repair, meaning that the loan cannot close until that condition is addressed. At that point, you have a few options. Option number one is that the seller fixes it. The buyer requests that the seller make the repair as a condition of moving forward. And this is common and often the cleanest path when the seller is motivated and the repair is reasonable. Option two is that the buyer negotiates a credit. Sometimes sellers won't do the work, but they'll reduce the price or provide a seller credit so that the buyer can handle it after closing. But here's the catch with credits. The VA has limitations on how seller concessions can be applied, so depending on the loan structure, this may or may not work the way that the buyer expects. Option number three, the buyer handles certain repairs before closing. In some situations, the buyer can pay for specific repairs out of pocket to satisfy the condition and allow the loan to close. Option four is that the deal falls apart. If the seller won't negotiate, the repair is too significant, or the condition just can't be resolved, the buyer may need to walk away. And that's a real outcome, and veterans should understand it going in. None of this means that VA buyers are at a disadvantage. It just means that VA buyers need to be working with a realtor who understands the process and a lender who can help identify potential red flags before they become contract problems. Now, here's the strategy piece. Before you ever even make an offer on a home, take a look at the obvious condition of the home. Not a full inspection, that comes later, but give it a basic visual read. How does the roof look? Is there any obvious maintenance issues in the home? Is the home vacant and hasn't been sitting? And does anything look structurally off? If you're shopping older homes or distressed properties, have a conversation with your realtor and your lender about what's likely to come up with that property. Also, and this is the most important part, get your home inspection done early. The VA appraisal is not a substitute for a real inspection, but a good inspector may flag the same issues that the VA appraiser is going to flag. And if you know about them before the appraisal, you have more time to negotiate. And for realtors working with veteran buyers, set expectations early on property condition. If your buyer is VA eligible and you're writing offers on fixer-uppers, have the conversation about what the appraisal may come back with. A VA buyer who understands the process isn't harder to work with, they're just better prepared. A VA buyer who doesn't know any of this and then gets blindsided by repair requirements, that's where deals die and everybody ends up frustrated. So here's where people get this wrong. Some sellers and listing agents still believe that VA buyers are riskier because the VA is stricter on property condition. And that frustration is real, but it's usually overstated. The VA isn't going through a home looking to create problems. The appraiser is looking for obvious, documented conditions that genuinely affect safety, structure, or livability. A well-maintained home in decent condition is not going to have any issues. The homes that create VA appraisal problems are generally the same homes that would create problems for any buyer. They just would have shown up in the inspection instead of in the appraisal. The difference is that with VA, the loan can't close until the issue is resolved. And that's a feature, not a flaw. The VA is protecting the veteran from buying a money pit with borrowed money at zero down, and that's a very reasonable position. So let's bring all this together. VA minimum property requirements are the baseline standards a home must meet for the VA to back the loan. The three core categories of these VA MPRs are safe, sound, and sanitary. When issues are flagged, the most common resolutions are seller repairs, price deductions, or in some cases, buyer handled repairs prior to closing. And the best defense is preparation. Knowing what to look for before you're actually under contract, working with an experienced professional, and not skipping your home inspection. If you're a veteran getting ready to start shopping for a home, understanding the property side of the VA loan is just as important as understanding the borrower side. If you've got questions about how MPRs might affect a specific property that you're taking a look at, or you just want to talk through the full VA loan process, reach out. The next video in this VA loan masterclass series is going to cover VA occupancy rules, which is another great topic that doesn't ever get explained clearly enough. So I'll see you guys on the next home.